Sacredversities webinar on crystals and chakra healing. So the Sacredversity webinar series is brought to you by Ecoversities Alliance. It's a global community reimagining how we learn, rooted in healing, culture, and ecology. It supports people and communities to reclaim learning on their own terms beyond classrooms and systems. From mainstream to many streams, Sacredversities is one such path, bringing the sacred back into the learning. It honors dreams, rituals, ancient wisdom, the body's knowing, and our deep connection to the unseen. Sacredversities invites us to learn with wonder, where education becomes a soulful, sacred journey. So we're doing this series of webinars. This one is called Crystalversity. We have three panelists here. We have Aarti, a soul guide and Akashic record reader. Aarti left a 15-year fashion career to help people shift energy, unlock wisdom, and awaken creativity. We also have Krithi. She's an intuitive healer and co-founder of Purple Pyramids in Chennai. Krithi blends sound, crystal, and oracle healing to support energy, balance, and clarity. We have Alka, a shamanic practitioner and mentor. Alka fuses ancient wisdom with modern tools to help people heal emotionally, spiritually, and reconnect with their true selves. Welcome, all of you. It's lovely to have you here. So, to start off today's conversation, I wanted to ask each of you. I want to start with Aarti. You specifically have mentioned that you had a long career in fashion. I want to ask, how did your relationship with crystals begin? Was there, or even doing healing work for that matter, was there a pivotal moment or intuitive knowing that led you on this path?
Hi, Lakshmi. Thanks for having me here today. Hi, everyone. So my journey is actually very interesting. I was, as you said, working in fashion for 15 years plus. And I was actually introduced to crystals by Alka and her mom. We're family, and we met at my cousin's wedding, my sister's wedding. And I was going through some health challenges at that time. And, Alka had given me some crystals for myself to support me on my journey. And I used them on and off. I definitely got curious. They were really beautiful. And that's where my journey started. Actually, in 2007, that was my first introduction to crystals. And, fast forwarding from then to 2013, I used to buy some crystals, use them for myself, ask Alka a bunch of questions, read books. But like in 2013, I lost my father. And by then, it was, towards the end of the year. And by then, I was dabbling and curious about things like oracle cards. I was having a few psychic experiences. And after his passing, I got a very strong intuition that I should work with crystals. I also had I saw angels like the night after he passed, and I kind of also heard. I got a message that he was going to pass, so the intuitive sense was really strong, and this message just came that I should work with crystals. They would help me. The message was for myself, and somehow I didn't doubt it. Like I knew very clearly that, okay, I trust this voice, I trust this knowing. And then I decided to take a trip to Singapore, where Alka's from, also my cousin had moved to. And when I went there, there was a crystal shop that Alka and I went to. And I went to buy more crystals, and all these different crystals calling out to me. So I was just collecting them, bits and bobs, in a bowl. And then the incredible thing is we went up to the counter to pay. And this lady, she hands me one bigger crystal. She suggested that you should buy this, it'll help you. So I picked it up. It was the more expensive one of the lot. And then when it comes to paying the bill, she, barring that big crystal and I think one more piece, every other crystal, she just gave me like this huge discount. And both of us were like, what? Like, are you sure? And she was like, you'll come back, you know. And so I kept looking at all these signs as that I was on the right path. And I continued to work with them, study with them for myself. And then a little bit later, the calling came to share the knowledge, the beauty, and its energy with other people. So that's my story.
Thank you, Aarti. Maybe I'll move over to Alka since I'm curious to see how you got introduced to this path and crystals specifically.
Um, Hi everyone, and again, Lakshmi, thank you for having me as well, and Aarti as well. Thank you for having me on this panel. So I think for me, my association and my relationship with the crystals is an ancient one. The funny story is, as a child, I would pick up rocks and then just randomly go to some aunties and uncles and just give them the rock, and they'd say, "What is this, child?" And I'd say, "Oh, the rock says it's for you, you know." And they'd go to my mom and say, "This girl, your girl is a little strange. She just gave me a rock from the floor and said that this is for me, and it told her to give me." So my relationship with the crystals have been very, very long. I've worked in the corporate world most of my life. And so the balance between working in corporate and trying to, understand and connect and ensure that I maintain my intuitive knowledge and intuitive sense, as well as my continuous connection with crystals, constant connection with crystals. It came back to me in 2003 when I moved to the US. And just, as part of a part-time thing, I was volunteering at a metaphysical store. And the owner put me in the crystal section, and it just felt like all the crystals were back to communicating with me. They were communicating with me. It stopped when I was so involved in my corporate career. And then she threw me into this section where I was surrounded by crystals, and it felt like they were all, they were all my friends. I knew all of them, and people would come and say, "I have this issue, I want a crystal, or what do you recommend?" And I would go automatically to the crystals. And I hadn't read up or studied any books. And so curious that I was, or, looking for facts. I'm always looking for logic and facts. After I'd recommend a crystal, I open a book to see what it's for, and it would be exactly what it was for. And that built my intuitive confidence, knowing that there's something here, there's something to this, and so I studied. Then I studied under a few teachers here in Atlanta, and even, the famous teacher who's not really in the metaphysical world anymore, Doreen Virtue, and her Lynette Brown, who wrote about numbers and crystals. I learned under them as well. I studied Melody's books. She's passed now, but she's extremely well versed and knowledgeable about crystals. So I went into a study, but then working deeper with the crystals, I realized that while every crystal has its generic properties, each one has its own story. And so that got me in deeper and deeper. And I just now feel that it's reached a point where crystals are so natural to me. Crystals are my friends, they're my family. So it's just not an effort at all connecting with the crystals. So that's where my knowledge of crystals, my affinity to crystals has come from. And I think it comes from many, many pasts that I have actually worked with them.
Thank you. That's beautiful. Krithi, would you also like to share?
So, hi everybody. Thank you for having me here. Very grateful. Um, my journey with crystals started with my mom. My mom has been doing healing work since I was about 1 year. So I had crystals around the house. Majorly, this huge amethyst that I always remember would be on the shoe rack, and I'd touch it, connect with it. But personally, when I felt really ill in 2016. And that was exactly the time where my mom got the guidance to open a physical store to touch and feel and buy crystals. And I was in marketing, and she said, can you help me put together a business, like a space and a plan as to how to reach people and stuff like that. And I said, yeah, sure. And she said, you can do this full time. But I protested. I said, no, I want to stick to my 5 year plan, and things like that. Uh, she said, okay. And I started working with her at Purple Pyramid to help her, curate crystals and stuff like that. The first stall that we did ever, I didn't know too much about crystals then. I knew the basics, looking at what she would use. But then when people came up to the stall and asked me for recommendations, like Alka said, it was so magical that I knew what I needed to give them, and I was so shocked, and I couldn't understand really where the wisdom and the guidance was coming from, because it's something that I've never done before. I tried to learn pranic healing as a kid, but never really with crystals. So that really, like, I never went back after that stall, after that interaction with people where I was able to read into their energy and suggest crystals for them that they came back and said they're happy with. I never went back to my actual marketing job. I've been with Purple Pyramid for the last 6 years. And personally, that's exactly when I connected with crystals as well. I remember looking at this aquamarine and it just called out to me. I felt like this is what I need. This is the friend I need to help me understand my emotions, help me with my healing journey, help me open up my throat and my heart chakra. And that's about it. I've been since exploring myself mostly with different crystals, how they make me feel, reading about the properties, and learning, through Purple Pyramid, different people's experiences. So that's my journey. Thank you.
It sounds like the crystals chose you more than you choosing the path.
Certainly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I want to address this next question before we go more in depth about understanding crystals. I know crystals travel an incredible journey from deep within Earth to our hands. Um, how do each of you hold the ethics of sourcing and working with crystals in your practice? Is the mining ethical, or is it not easy to find out whether it was ethical or not? Or I want to understand this more. I want to start with Alka, if you would like to try and
Yeah,
respond to that. Yeah.
absolutely, Lakshmi. My husband and I actually have a crystals business online. So it is really very close to our hearts, going to the right vendors. We go to these very popular shows here in the US, that are the largest gem shows in the world. But just going back to, again, my introduction to buying actual crystals and the store that Aarti mentioned in Singapore, owned by a couple who are from Madagascar, and they actually own the mines. So I call them uncle and auntie. And so talking to uncle to, understand the mining process of his mines in Madagascar and how the raw material comes to him and where they get it carved and, where they get it polished. So learning at a very early time in my life how this works, now owning a business, Mark, my husband and I are very, very particular, and we actually talk to our vendors and we ask them where did this crystal come from? How was it mined? Where was it polished? And then it comes to our hands. So most of our crystals that we have, we are literally the third or the fourth, holder of these crystals, because it goes through the process of being mined, and then it goes through, some countries have a broker process. So they go through the broker process, and the raw material gets to the carvers carve it, and then they come to our hands. So for me, that is knowing about where your crystals come from. That is the ethics of crystals. Knowing, feeling into the energy, that's the ethics of crystals. Because the other thing is, and I know Aarti and Krithi will definitely correspond to this, is the crystals tell you where they're from. The crystals tell you, what condition they're in, and you can immediately tell when a crystal has been badly treated. We rescue crystals, and I'm sure Aarti and Krithi know about this too. And they do this, that we rescue crystals that have been badly treated, because we want to take care of them. We want to make sure they get the healing. And if they are not meant to go to someone, then we are kind of the caretakers of the crystals. So knowing where your crystal comes from, the geography of the crystal, is very important to its energy as well. Which part of the world it comes from, it picks up the energy of that land, and it's very, very important. That the geography is part of the energy of the crystals. I know I've said a lot. Aarti and Krithi may want to add or may want to share their own view on this.
Yeah, Krithi, if you want to add something.
Yeah, I completely agree. Knowing where the crystal comes from is one of the first things that we did when we started the store, especially having so many sellers, wholesalers in India. They kind of, as soon as they know that you're a crystal, so they start reaching out to you and they start selling to you. So we actually went uh, to like Delhi. We met the people there, understood why they want to be in the crystal business of sorts, understanding their intentions. So we know where it's coming from, and then that's one hub who they can check. Also, authenticity really matters. So how authentic it is, where it's coming from, the energy of each person's hands that it passes is held by the crystal, and I personally feel like the authenticity cards really don't work. At the end of the day, it's how the crystal really feels for you. And I believe truly that every crystal has to go to one certain person. Because I've seen that sometimes this pyramid is on the shelf for like 4 years, and then somebody walks into the store and then picks it up and they absolutely love it. So until they do, that crystal is asked to care for, like she said. And it reciprocates the love and the energy. And I think treating the crystal as you would treat a conscious being is the most ethical way to go about it.
Thank you. Anything to add, Aarti?
Yeah, I just want to say, I used to, when I started doing this work and working with the crystals, I would actually go to my vendors. They were small vendors, they were not even wholesalers. They were guys in the Colaba market, if any of you all know that. And I would love to handpick each crystal. And that's how, like Alka and Krithi said, you feel into the energy of the stones, and you just you connect to it. There's not every stone that I connect with. Today the market has really exploded, and literally, like she said, once somebody knows you're a crystal healer or you are working with these stones, I get 20 to 50 WhatsApp messages and pictures every day, and it feels so, I don't like it. I don't look at them half the time. But one thing I have learned to discern over time is I'm grateful for this. I'm able to tell the energy even through the screen. I can tell this, I don't want to work with this vendor. I I feel this person has a good energy. I feel they have more respect for the crystals. And of course, once the crystals come, then I always wash them, cleanse them, before I put them, up on the shelves. And like Krithi said, like I've had crystals that have been with me for 10 years before someone came and then took them. So you never know when it's their owner and the match is going to come, and you just hold on to it. And it's a beautiful process. It's really quite magical.
Can I add something, Lakshmi? You also
Yeah.
asked and earlier mentioned there is controversy around overmining. And what does that look and what does that feel like? As Aarti and Krithi and us as well, we can feel the energy. So we kind of understand that process of what overmining or mining for crystals in a really rough manner, what that feels like on the rock, what that feels like on the crystal as well. I won't deny the fact that there is overmining. We went to a show last year and you could feel the crystals crying out because they have not been treated well at all. So those of us who understand that connection, who are here today, know what it feels like when crystals are in distress. And that's what overmining looks like. So not supporting vendors who play in that space is essentially kind of dumbing down the demand for that vendor, right? So therefore, in the hopes that then that vendor does not, continue in that way, and supporting, as Aarti said, smaller vendors, or as Krithi said, meeting your vendors, understanding where they get their raw material from and how they get their raw material from is very, very important. And having that personal relationship with your vendors too, so that they don't fake you out, right? We can detect a fake from a mile away, and we can detect a fake vendor from a mile away as well. So that makes a difference.
Thank you, Alka. I wanted to ask like a similar question about your work personally. So your work blends ancient earth wisdom and modern modalities. How do you navigate this responsibility with clients in urban, fast-paced contexts? How do you also specifically um, is it okay? I'm asking because I don't know. And is it okay to people who are not from the Southern American region? Traditionally, they are called shamans, or they're shamans in American context. Is it okay for other people to call themselves shamans? I want to understand the cultural um, context of these things.
Context. Sure, absolutely. So if you look up the word shaman, they'll tell you the word shaman came from Siberia. So actually that's where the origin of the word, the official word shaman came from. But if you look at history, if you look at all our cultures, right? Every tribe, every village has had a medicine person, a medicine man or medicine woman, or a witch doctor, or someone or the other, curandera in Mexico, or someone or the other who's, understands the earth, understands the way herbs work, understands the way anything from the earth works to heal, heal injuries, heal your mind, heal your body, heal your soul. And there are vast amounts of methods that this is done. So I think the word shaman has become kind of the generic term for all of these medicine people throughout the world. And that's why I don't call myself a shaman. I call myself a shamanic practitioner. And therein lies that specific, I'm not going to the woods or the jungle or the forest to forage for herbs. I'm going to and this is where the modern urban aspect comes in. I'm going to my local apothecary, or I'm reaching out to friends who do grow herbs, in their homes because they have a lot of land, and saying, okay, can we exchange? I'll get your homegrown herbs to make my tinctures and my teas and all of that. In exchange, I'll give you something as well. So it's really today's take on what practicing shamanism is. And that's why it's shaman in the city. I'm not going to go to the forest or the jungle. I'm a city girl. I've worked in corporate, most all of my life. So let's be real about the fact that I am not going into the woods, and I probably can't even tell you one mushroom from another, or, you know, really deeper. I could tell you the basic herbs, what they look like, and probably get those, but not everything. I have friends who are exceptional at knowing their herbs, at growing their herbs, you know, knowing flowers, growing their flowers. I collaborate with them, you know. I work, again, as I mentioned, I work with my husband, and we have that on the crystals. And then I've learned methods like pranic healing, Reiki, SRT. So using these modern energetic tools, and I have my own way of shamanic journeying to really then work with my guests, with my clients, understand their needs, and use these various tools to work with them, to help them. And we say help them get to center, get to who they are meant to be. Did that answer your question, Lakshmi?
It did, it did. Thank you. Thank you for helping me understand the origin and how you use it and all of that, definitely. Um, I now want to understand how crystals work. How does it help in healing? Um, so yeah, maybe we can start with if someone, one of you, maybe Krithi, you can try to maybe explain how does it, how do crystals support in healing?
Okay, so in my personal experience and what I've seen with others as well, crystals help with anything to do with physical, mental, emotional, or psychological. And why they work is basically because they are Mother Earth, they're Gaia, and they're conscious beings. They have frequencies of their own. So if there is a frequency that is not working for us in our bodies or in our psychic or in our auric field, and if we are trying to aim to reach that frequency, they're like friends or buddies who help you kind of bring your frequency there. So that's how I really understand crystals and I resonate with them. And that's how I feel like they work. They're energetic beings.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone else have anything to add to that in terms of how they support in healing?
Pretty much, what she said. Also, the frequency of crystals is very stable. Unlike us, our energy fluctuates, and they also they not kind of, sorry, they do resonate with our chakras, which are, energetic centers in our body. There are seven. There are much more than seven chakras actually, but seven are the main chakras that most people know about. So even like, colors correspond. The frequency of the crystals correspond with the chakras. The colors correspond with the chakras. There are different colors to each chakra. So that's how they help to, shift the energy within us, which is either it's too much or it's too little. It's unbalanced, and they bring their, stability and help shift that energy. They've also, in my personal experience, helped me open up to a new dimension of thinking. They've helped to expand my consciousness. Probably definitely working on my crown chakra and the, which is up here, and then the higher chakras. They've helped me receive information. So I'd say my intuition got stronger. I was more aware of the energy and the knowledge that's around me. So it really helped me shift my mindset. It helped me shift, it helps us shift emotionally. Like when we're feeling down, certain stones can help you process that grief or that sadness, the beautiful support systems like a friend. And also, I've seen physically in some cases when the body is not too extremely affected, it can help you physically come back to balance. I've used crystals to, I had blood clots in my leg. They helped me to get my blood circulation, back on track. So it helps on these three different levels, and I'm sure there's something Alka can also add. She's had so much, done so much work with them.
Thanks. No, Kirti, Aarti, you're absolutely right. I do have an interesting story of the adverse effect of crystals. As you know, my habit of, as a child, giving people crystals, that's not stopped at all. I'm constantly giving it. And my aunt, we were on a cruise ship, and she, was feeling lethargic, lack of energy, which was a general tendency of hers. So I said, come on, we're on this ship for 3 days, we're here to have fun. Here, this is a crystal, it'll completely give you energy. Okay. And this crystal carnelian, I call it the espresso of the crystal world. You literally, if you're feeling tired, put 2 in your pocket, and you're like, then Energizer Bunny. So I'm thinking, okay, I'm giving this to Auntie and she's going to be Energizer Bunny. Guess what? She has a massive migraine and she's in bed the whole day, on the ship, in bed. So I said, what did I do? Did I do something wrong? Did I give her the wrong crystal? What have I done? That's when the realization occurred that the crystal works on that, because it's energetic, it's pure energy, it works on that subconscious level. So if you're willing it to and pleading with it, oh, I want it to work, it must work, please work, I beg you to work, you've already put your conscious mind in this. Like when they say manifestation, it's a natural process. It's not a I beg you please process. And also, if you're resisting, so she was getting the energy, but she was resisting, what happened was her entire body shut down. And so she had a migraine and she couldn't move. So the opposite effect. And then people go, oh, this crystal doesn't work for me. You've not let it work for you. And then, or you've wanted it way too much, that your ego, your conscious, has come in contact with the energy of this crystal, and you're fighting with it. It's trying to do its thing, and you're fighting with it as well. So that impacts energy as well. That impacts, how a crystal works with you. We're energetic bodies, and so are crystals. If you're fighting with someone, you're fighting with a thing, it's not going to work. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Actually, my next question was around this only. Maybe I'll see if there's anyone else who wants to add to this. I was wondering if crystals are primarily supportive in healing, and if there are other components to the healing process, or can crystals sometimes be active agents of transformation, just the crystal? So I think some of it got answered already. If anyone wants to add anything to that.
I think it depends on each individual how the crystal really responds. Sometimes I've seen that somebody picks up the crystal and something is transformed for them in the next 24 hours. And sometimes it takes 6 to 8 months and they come back saying, hey, this is not working, or hey, I'm setting the intention, I'm cleansing, I'm putting it under the moonlight, it's not working. So it's always, like she said, about how you build a relationship with the crystal and allow it to kind of bring out stuff. Um, like we had one instance where we had a pop-up in Bangalore and somebody bought a crystal, and the next day some really unpleasant things from the past started coming up. So they wanted to discard it, and I told them how to like bury it or give it to somebody who's going to use it because they haven't used it yet. But they were so terrified that they couriered it back to me, and wanted nothing to do with it. So it really depends on the readiness of each individual. And you can always do other things with, working with crystals. You can meditate with them. You can meditate on your own. It's a holistic thing. It fits really well when we're looking at our being as a holistic being and not putting too much pressure on the crystal to fix our life immediately.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and often, sorry, go on, go on.
No. I was just going to agree with Kirti. The last statement she made is perfect. It's absolutely what it is.
Yeah, they often get lost or break if we put that kind of pressure on them, right? Yeah. In fact, I was also going to ask about using crystals in magical practices. It could be setting up a crystal grid or using it to amplify our intention. Can each of you share one last thing that you use crystal for in this way? Or yeah, can we do that?
Sure. Who wants to go first? I guess I'll go since I spoke up. Honestly, crystals are part of daily life, which means magic is part of my daily life. In jewelry, and I mean, why does our culture wear diamonds, wear sapphires, wear rubies, wear emeralds? They all have a significance historically, through the ages, from ancient texts. So crystals actually should be in our daily lives. If you think about just for example, there's this crystal called apophyllite. It comes from Pune. That's the only mine in the world that produces apophyllite. And so you think of all of the people living in Pune in that close proximity to that specific crystal and that specific crystal's energy, you'd think that, I mean, Pune is a very peaceful city. The people there tend to be a little more relaxed than they are in Bombay or Delhi or any other, secondary, primary or secondary city. And you don't realize that that energy imbues you in, there is a sacred grid in Mother Earth, in Gaia, in Pachamama, that works through our systems subconsciously. But because people don't think about it daily, they don't think about the fact that, oh, this crystal or this rock or this mineral is impacting my personal life. And so you want to consciously put it together in the form of grids, full moon grids, new moon grids, manifestation grids. You can use crystals for all of this, but you can use crystals on your person, in your jewelry or wherever you are, to imbue yourself with that magic. Again, not thinking about it, because everybody wears a crystal, in their person. Everyone wears some kind of jewelry. We look at computers. Guess what's powering your screens? Quartz crystals. So it's in everybody's life. It's just because you don't think about it, you don't think the impact it has on you, but it's working. It's working behind the scenes. That's the magic of crystals.
Yeah, I was asking about what crystal did you use last for what kind of magical practice?
Oh, that's a hard question for me because, as my crystals know, I mean, looking at my desk here, I have so many crystals. But actually, I'll mention apophyllite. I use this every day. And this comes from Pune. I don't think there it is. And this is really immensely powerful for unwinding the monkey mind, especially during sleep. If you can't sleep at night, and you just keep thinking of your to-do list and things, that just an apophyllite pyramid on your third eye helps unwind those thoughts and just take you into deep relaxation. So that could be I use it every night.
Yeah. Aarti?
The last crystal I used, actually, I wasn't doing any grid work or anything, but I used rose quartz because this last full moon has been quite heavy for me. So I was just using it to soothe myself. And also, I do sleep with selenite every night. So that's my go-to crystal. It's really calming, very peaceful. I feel it's protective and clears your aura, from any unwanted energies that you've picked up. So these are my actually day-to-day, and yeah, recently I started wearing Mukite, which is from Australia, and just wanted more grounding, wanted a little more enthusiasm about life, for life, working on my root chakra. So yeah, that's it for me. I gave you 3 actually.
That's okay. That's great. Thank you. Aarti, Krithi?
So I think the last grid as such that we put together was yesterday for Buddha Purnima, where we used the different angels representing Mysore and Raphael, and we use a lot of clear quartz on flower of life grid. That's the last thing that I did with crystals. So I'm wearing my crystals, but other than that, yeah.
Lovely. Thank you. Krithi, I wanted to also ask you, um, so your work involves chakra-based healing. I'd love for you to share, how do you sense which crystals are needed for a person's energy balance? Is it intuitive, or how else? Has a particular crystal ever shifted a session in an unexpected way? If you can share an example, if that comes to mind.
Yeah, I think the way I go about it usually is by intuition. But many people are not very convinced sometimes. So we do have a booklet that explains why maybe. So I give them an option, allow them to read, and because I feel like if they're going to have a mental block that this may not work, it will not work. So if they are convinced, then I suggest to go ahead with it. But usually it's by just reading into the energy. Is how I go about it. Yeah. Did you ask anything else? Did I miss something?
I was wondering if a particular crystal has ever shifted a session in an unexpected way. Um, I mean, if you want to think about it, we can come back also.
Yeah, I'm not sure a session, but many times like people have taken back crystals and like somebody took a tiger's eye once and kept getting into trouble for the next 2 weeks, and then he came back and said that I never want to use this again, and so that became like a back and forth conversation as to what is it trying to tell you? Why are you getting into trouble again and again? What is this crystal trying to tell you by putting you in that situation if you think that is what is putting you in the situation? So I think it gives us a lot of space to explore and puts us in the right places for to show us where we need to heal.
Interesting. Um, Thank you. Mm, did Alka or Aarti wanted to say something along these lines on how you decide which crystal?
It is mostly, actually, it is 100% intuitive. It's very rare, that I've picked up a book like Alka, everything, and Krithi, everything came very intuitively. Like, I know this crystal goes here, or this is the crystal that this person needs. And I just wait for that answer to come into me, or I also tell people what's calling out to you. Why don't you see what's catching your eye? And usually, then when I share with them, that's what this crystal is for, they're like, oh, that's exactly what I was looking for. So encourage people to, also trust their own choice. I want to also add, maybe I'm going a little off topic here, that, because we're talking about the tiger eye that didn't work and was bringing up all this stuff for this person, is that there's something, there is like your highest good always involved, and everyone's destiny is different and unique. So while, of course, we're all deserve wealth and we all deserve love, but we've come to experience different things. One person may have come to tap in X amount of wealth, and someone may have come to tap into even more because they have to share it with people. So understanding your own journey and your path is also important when you are working with crystals, because today what a lot of people are doing is just generalizing, oh, this crystal is good for manifestation, this crystal is good for wealth, and then people may have unrealistic expectations or not understanding which phase of their life they are in, and they're like, oh, this doesn't work for me. So it's good to have that holistic approach and see, do you have a mental block? Do I That's where things like tarot or akashic or even going to the therapist come in, where you start working on other aspects and seeing the bigger picture come into play. So I always tell people that, be patient and don't, just sit with it, meditate with it. You'll get answers if you are coming up with obstacles, or come back to me and, we can talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I can add, Aarti, that was so good, that get to know your crystals. You buy a crystal, it's not just an inanimate object that you say, okay, I'm going to keep it in my pocket or in my purse or by my bedside and it's going to automatically work. Work with your crystal, sit and just do breathing. You don't have to do a big meditation. Hold it in your hand and just breathe, and you'll get, words, images, feelings. And that's you already connecting with your crystal to know and understand. Because, like Aarti says, we're all different. And therefore, while crystals have their generic properties, they're all different too. Depends on which part of the world they come from, how they're treated. Their energy vibrates, it hums with that, those instances, those experiences. And so because of that, it's very important to get to know your particular crystal. Very, very important.
So thank you. That's informative. The next question I wanted to ask was initially stemming from the understanding that, or stemming from the thinking that each crystal probably corresponds to a certain chakra, even the larger chakra system besides the seven. I'm also understanding that it can be also combination of such certain chakra frequencies of like that has a certain effect in our life. So I want to ask, um, crystals are not always accessible. There are certain costs. There's again the ethics of it that comes into play. Not everyone can afford and access it, and it takes time to get to it. I want to ask each of you if there are other ways to work with these chakras, these needs that people may have if they don't have access to the crystal itself. Or what kind of ways do you recommend? I want to start with Krithi.
I think there are different ways that you can work with your chakras. There are chanting that you can do. Each chakra has a different chant. You can do that. You can do chakra meditations. You can listen to specific sound healings that are uploaded on YouTube that resonate with particular chakras. You can do physical exercises like different asanas that resonate with particular chakras. You can eat different kind of foods that help heal and expand particular chakras. Um, you can say affirmations, you can write affirmations, you can do mirror work. A lot of these things can help with your chakra healing. If anybody else wants to.
Yeah, Alka, do you want to add something?
Yeah. If you think of, before we had all these tools, we had our hands, right? And our hands generate energy. That's where, most healing modalities come from. So our hands are powerful energy tools, and they absolutely help. You put your hand on your tummy when you have a tummy ache. What happens? Oh, the tummy ache soothes itself. You've got energy. So absolutely everything that Kirti mentioned, those are absolute tools you can use, but you can use your own tools, your own desires, your own, I want to balance my chakras, I want to heal my chakras, and use your hand to put on your belly, on your heart, on your throat. And that's the most, you are your most brilliant tool.
Anything to add, Aarti?
Not really. They've said they've said it all. The crystal is just one way and one tool, and everything is mentioned. I don't particularly think I have anything to add. I do want to say one of the actually there is one thing, grounding. Just spending time in the garden, lying down on earth, connecting with the frequency of the planet. So each one of your chakras, your entire body is flat on the ground, and you're tuning in, and the frequency of the earth is so much more powerful than us, and we are nature, we are earth. I think we forget that. We see ourselves as this different entity, like, oh, we are human and then there's nature, but we are nature. And what's common, in nature is the Schumann resonance. It's a frequency, and grounding and being barefoot on earth or lying down on earth will help you come back to that natural frequency of nature. So if there's nothing else, just go to a garden and lie down or walk barefoot. Like, it's the easiest way.
Thank you. I want to quickly ask for some crystal care advice. Is it sometimes I've heard from people that some crystals have to be cared for differently. Some cannot be cleansed with water. But what I do is put all of them on earth. And I want to know if that's okay. And if you have any other advice to care for crystals and how to cleanse them. Alka?
So putting them back to earth is fantastic, especially when they're broken, sending them back into the earth. But also remember, if you're burying your crystals in earth to cleanse them, some of them like it so much, you may never find them again. So they've gone. Yeah, there are a lot of crystals that, yes, you cannot use water, like selenite that Aarti had mentioned, that will completely dissolve. And so there are a couple of ways. Sound cleanses crystals. So if you have certain hertz music, especially with drumming, that helps to cleanse the crystals. Putting them out in moonlight helps to cleanse them and charge them as well. There are some you can put in water, some you can't. So if you in a situation where, oh, I can't remember if this crystal can be soaked in water or not, your sound and light moonlight is the best and easiest way. And then the other thing is intention. So your crystal in your hand, using your breath, I wish to clear this crystal, and that clears it, your pure intention. I know Aarti and Krithi, you all have more to add, so I'll stop here.
Krithi, you want to add something?
Yeah, like she said, the singing bowls are something that we use, the gong, especially at the store where you have so many crystals and you want to cleanse them regularly. Another thing that I really like to do is Dhupdan or Sambrani is what I really like to do to cleanse the crystals. But at the end of the day, like she said, the intention that you hold while cleansing the crystal, irrespective of what you're doing to cleanse it, that's what really matters. You can also use the selenite that she showed us to cleanse.
Yeah, unless there's anything specific you want to add, Aarti. I want to move.
No, I'm nothing really, like, just since I have a story, since we all have so many crystals around us, it's not possible to always cleanse them. So I think I just set intention, and I trust that sometimes my intuition guides me, like just when I think this crystal needs a cleanse. So people ask, how often should I clean my crystals? I'm like, whenever you feel like, maybe the energy feels heavy or that it needs a cleansing. That's another thing that comes up in cleaning. And some crystals do well in salt water, some crystals don't. Crystals that usually end with ITE, like hiddenite, they don't, the salt has a corrosive action. So avoid cleansing crystals with ITE with salt. Otherwise, water, works okay for most of the stones.
Thank you. So you know how we're calling this Crystalversity? You all have your own Crystalversity in that sense, right? So if anyone who's listening and watching this video wants to begin their own sacred versity, by that I mean starting their own earth-rooted, heart-led, intentional learning space, what would you tell them to listen to for within themselves before starting? Um, is my question clear? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Aarti, would you like to go first?
Mm, I would say definitely do listen to your heart, but also like what I've learned in the last so many years is, you need to be a little practical also. Uh, you do need to get the word out. You do need to balance your finances. I have always been a very spiritual person and not very practical, even though I'm a Virgo. I've always followed my intuition, but over time, I have learned that balancing the material and the spiritual, when you are doing anything large, that is, yeah, it's a business. At the end of the day, business is not a dirty word, it's a service that we're offering. And, doing it with integrity, having patience, and not just saying things. I mean, even I have maybe been guilty of this, like because we spoke of ethics, like everybody wants to write it's ethically sourced, but do you actually know where it's coming from? It's okay to say that, like I can't say beyond a point where a stone may have come from, but once it's in my hands, then I know that it's got good intentions in it. I'm somebody who will think, before just telling you buy this, buy that, because people sometimes come from a space of fear. So it's important to work from your heart, with love, and, also be practical when you are starting your own venture.
Lovely, thank you. I like that I like that you're already uh, assuming that it has to be a venture and like a service. I love that. Alka, would you like to add something?
Aarti said it really eloquently. I guess what I would like to add is trust yourself. Trust yourself. Get to a point where you know you can trust yourself almost entirely and trust your own intuition. That you have that confidence and you know that this is what you're meant to do and this is what you're supposed to do. We're all meant to be here for learning, and having been someone who's chased the corporate, environment, or been in the corporate environment and chased do, doing better, getting more money and all of that, it wears on you and it tires you out because that's not what we're meant to do here. That's not what we're meant to be. So be kind to yourself, self-care, trust yourself, implicitly trust your intuition. That is one of the most important things you can do for yourself.
Thank you. Krithi?
I think from personal experience, I think connecting with the physical body, because a lot of times when we're starting to do this work, we're so fascinated with the energetic body, with the chakras, with the auric field, that we forget about the physical body. But nourishing and taking care of the physical body and taking your physical body along this journey is the one of the most important things that I've learned. It's very easy to forget about it and go into the crown chakra and go into la la land. Um, but you need the physical body to bring that energy through your crown and ground it to your root so it manifests in your this everyday reality. So don't forget about the body, connect with the body. It's a very living, communicating being that is a great gift. So that's something from personal experience. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Um, Thank you, each of you, for being here and sharing your wisdom and answering all my naive, basic questions. Um, Yeah, thank you so much. And before we close, yeah, I think we can close the recording.
I just wanted to I wanted to ask a question. So, I had a stint in the US for a long time, and I went to a lot of crystal shops in Salem where they were super dense, and I don't think they had the right energetic hygiene to cleanse it. And my first real good crystal shop experience was in Bombay with Aarti, and it was super clear, and I mean, I felt really good there. And I even bought a couple of crystals to wear from her, some V pattern amethyst, I've forgotten the name now. And
Chevron amethyst.
chevron.
Chevron amethyst.
Yeah, and it's really beautiful. In fact, I have it here, and a quartz I got. Now the only thing is, this is the chevron amethyst. Is really like ancient looking and beautiful, which I was drawn to. The issue is that I have a lot of energy fluctuations, and I pick up on other people's energies constantly, and the crystal becomes heavy in like an hour. So then I can't go on, cleansing crystals every hour because I have other stuff to do. So what would you guys, anybody want to take this question? What's to be done if the person is super like energy sensitive? I mean, I'm not able to wear crystals because it gets heavy like fast, and then it stays trapped on my neck or my hands. So what's to be done in this situation? Anybody want to answer this?
I think maybe all three want to answer. I'm sure we have our own ways of handling things, but what I would recommend is, again, the intention set to clear the crystal is very important. And knowing yourself, as Aarti mentioned earlier on, knowing your own energy patterns and yourself is very important. So in order to balance, if you are working with crystals, I would always have a protection crystal with me, small one in the pocket, or, we put it in a little bra, just so that it's close to your skin, to always have that. So it's protecting, and then your crystals are not carrying anyone else's energy. The intention needs to be very, very clear that I'm wearing you, you're not carrying others' energy, you're taking care of me. And I see both Krithi and Aarti nodding their heads, so I'll defer to them for additional info.
Krithi, maybe you want to say something.
So yeah, like she said, the intention that you set with the crystal, and as well as it's telling you something about the way that the experience that you're having may be recurring. It's saying something about maybe you're not taking care of yourself first, putting other people, maybe a thought pattern, a behavioral pattern. It's bringing something to notice. That's something to look at. And you can also ask the crystal to help you with that, finding that whatever it's asking you to work on, making it more clear, um, and helping you kind of shield your energies a little more, helping you protect your auric field so you're not like picking up other people's energies very quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you. Okay, yeah. Unless Aarti wants to jump in and save the
No.
day.
No, she said it.
Yeah,
But I did
think
get selenite. I did get wear selenite. Sorry.
okay. So I'll be wearing 3 crystals and looking like a total baba very soon. But apart from all the rosaries I'm already wearing. But yeah, thank you. Thank you. This was very enlightening and very interesting. And I was here even though my video was off. But thank you, everyone. Thank you for showing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, any feedback, any last thoughts, anything lingering, anything you want to scold me for? Yeah.
No, I just want to say, yeah, if anybody is looking to start their own crystal venture or Crystalversity, feel free to reach out.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to share, which cannot be shared in 1 hour. but I'm happy to help support anyone. And yeah, just putting that out there.
Yeah, Kalashri, maybe you can add that in the things we post.
Yeah,
Like
same
they can
same
reach
here.
out.
Yeah, yeah,
Same.
yeah. We
Yeah.
can add whoever wants to be available to the people. We can add a follow-up post when I do the clips. So usually after this, I make clips of the video that was just recorded, and there I can add feel free to reach out and give your Instagram handles if that's okay with everyone.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. It was so lovely meeting
Yeah,
everyone.
thank you.
So lovely meeting everybody and talking about crystals.
Crystals, right? And being with people who do
Yeah.
this and
Forget it.
it's like, okay, we're already friends. Lakshmi, your questions were really good. So
Yeah.
good questions. Thank you.
She's
Thank
an
you.
excellent
Thank you so much for
moderator.
holding the space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Good
Thank
night,
you
guys.
so much.
Yeah. Good night. Thank you.